Good sticks, everyone. Welcome to the Captain Avalanche Fancast, your unofficial source for all things Colorado Avalanche hockey and more from a fan perspective, hosted by me, Captain Avalanche Corey, and he's our April Fool, Dom. Sorry, the Canucks just scored a shorty. Oh my God, why do we do this?
No.
Why do we do this to ourselves? Oh my God, I knew this was going to be a trap game. Anyway, rewind, everybody. We're just gonna start over. We're just gonna start over. All right. So try to take two. Good sticks, everyone. Welcome to the Captain Avalanche Fancast, your unofficial source for all things Colorado Avalanche hockey and more from a fan perspective, hosted by me, Captain Avalanche Corey, and he's our April Fool, Dom. Now, we're no insiders. We're not inside the locker room face-to-face with our favorite players, but we hope to create a relatable and welcoming environment because we're just like all of you listening. Fans. Fans with a deep passion for the game of hockey, and in this case, the Colorado Avalanche. Dom, I'd like you to know that I don't actually think that you're a fool. Anyway, it's all coming down to it. Only a couple weeks left before the end of this regular season and the start of the best time of the year, playoffs. The time where all the non-hockey fans who say they're hockey fans start tuning in because they claim the regular season is, quote, too boring and that the playoffs are, quote, way more exciting. But if you're not watching right now, then you're an idiot because virtually every team is still within fighting distance of a playoff spot in the West and the East. The Jets are now 1 point back. The Knights are at risk of falling out altogether and getting usurped by the Kings to make LA versus Edmonton round, I think, 5? Possible. Then there are the Avs. With only a few more wins needed to clinch the West and the President's Trophy for the ultimate home ice advantage, every game matters. Every point matters. And then some teams choose to fire their coach and or GM with less than 10 games left. What the hell is happening on today's episode of the Captain Avalanche Fancast? And I know we say this a lot, but if you like what we're doing here and you haven't followed us, you haven't clicked subscribe, you haven't done whatever on whatever platform you're listening on, well, we'd certainly appreciate if you did, because it always means a lot to us if you decide to click that follow button, you like what we're doing here. But the most important thing is, if you like it, please tell somebody else about it. Tell another Avs fan. Hell, tell another hockey fan. We talk about hockey stuff, and I like to keep up with other teams around the league. I listen to other teams' networks all the time in order to keep up with other things, because I can't watch every hockey game. It's just not possible, as much as I would probably like it to be. So you can always tell somebody else about what we're doing here. Well, we would appreciate it. And then we wouldn't have to do to you like what these teams did to their staff. And that's fire you. You're fired. That's right, Dom. Before we talk about anything else, who was Cam Lund?
Well, I don't think Cam Lund was fired, so
He
I don't
was
know
not.
about that
He was not,
transition.
no.
I'm also glad I wasn't fired. If we can fire anybody, can it be the Avalanche power play coaching because of some knuckleheads that totally didn't mess up our first take?
But our power play has been so good, and we'll talk about it. And that was the first time we've done one of those fuckers in a while. It was just, I don't think we're taking this seriously enough, but we'll get there. For now, Dom, who is Cam Lund? The reason I ask is I pulled his rookie card in one of the boxes that I was doing the other day, and I was like, who the fuck is this? I don't think we've ever spoken of him. So who is Cam Lund?
He is one of the many prospects in the Sharks pool system. He was drafted 34th overall in 2022, so that would be the second pick of the second round for those of you that can't math very quickly. And yeah, I mean, he's a forward. What can I say? There's so many prospects. It's hard to keep up with all of them and describe them all, but only just recently, I want to say in 2024 was when he actually got his start with the Barracuda, where he now continues to play. And I believe the Cuda are in a Calder playoff spot right now, if I recall correctly. I'd have to double check. My computer is moving slower than a snail right now.
I can check for you. San Jose Barra. Nope, that's not how you spell Barracuda. Oopsies. San Jose.
Barracuda!
Dun, 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 and I still spelled it wrong. Oh my goodness, that's embarrassing. Well, they lost to the Texas Stars. That's for fucking sure. Let's go to standings. That's what we need. Hello. Okay. They have not clinched, but they are third in the Pacific Division behind your Colorado Eagles and the Ontario Reign. So that is where they currently stand right now. But it looks like they are good. They have 80 points, one ahead of the Coachella Valley Firebirds and two ahead of the Bakersfield Condors. So to me, it looks like they are in a playoff position currently, but it looks like the Pacific Division for the AHL is also very competitive. So,
all of our talent is not at the NHL level yet to cross the whole division. Lowest scoring in the NHL. Why wouldn't it be the highest scoring in the AHL? It seems like there's just a median across the two teams. The two divisions for all of these teams. But I do hope they make it. I know last year we were like inches away from going to an Eagles versus CUDA game that was here in Colorado, and I'm really hoping we'll be able to do that this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, I've taken us on two side tangents here. Cam Lund is a center/winger, primarily plays winger, shooting right-handed. For the Barracuda. And like I said, he was drafted back, I guess, 4 years ago now in 2022. And this is his second full season in the AHL.
I just needed to know if he was somebody who was worthy of having his own card. That's really what I needed to know.
Well, I obviously can't say just yet. He hasn't seen time at the NHL level, but he is a part of that top prospect pool. I guess it's hard to say depending on what players can still be considered prospects at this point from like an actual prospect pool rankings, right? Michael Misa having played so much this season, same with Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini, they can't be considered prospects anymore. I'd argue Chernyshov deserves a full-time NHL spot, so can he still be considered a prospect? So depending on where you rank everybody and then factoring in the other positions, I'd say he's a top 10 prospect in the Sharks pool.
All right. Then evidently perhaps worthy of that. So maybe see him eventually. But then that is the important thing that we need to talk about. This week was spearheaded by two shocking, although not necessarily surprising firings. The surprising thing mostly is the timing. First, the Vegas Golden Knights fired head coach Bruce Cassidy, who brought the team its first and only Stanley Cup, and immediately replaced him with John Tortorella. And then, hours before puck drop against the Ducks, the Toronto Maple Leafs fired GM Brad Treliving with no replacement prepared. Not just not named, but prepared, and there is a difference. We then got an absolute dumpster fire of a press conference from MLSE owner Keith Pelly, who seems to sometimes forget some of the teams that he manages. But all this is to say, I wanted to have some open-ended discussion. No script, just gut reaction. Dom, how do you, we, me, us feel about these firings? And was it the right choice? And were the replacements or lack thereof the correct ones?
Well, I think Toronto firing the GM is not surprising to me. Maybe the timing surprising. Why let him do the trade deadline if you're planning to fire him? Or maybe his failure at the trade deadline is what caused this firing, at which point, why not just wait till the offseason? So not sure I fully understand the timing of that one, but obviously the one I want to focus on is the Golden Knights firing head coach Bruce Cassidy, because they won a cup in the first couple of years of their existence, pissing off myself and every Sharks fan to no end in the process. So, of course, I am naturally very happy to see them struggling and now be saddled with Tortorella. F in the chat, though, for Mitch Marner, who in the span of like, what was it? Like, is it the same day or was it within 48 hours here that he suddenly has to be coached by Torts and the shitty ass GM where he was previously is now gone. So it was just a double whammy for him after being traded to Vegas from Toronto. So like I said, F in the chat, big L for Mitch Marner.
Yeah, I do think that's hilarious because that's where all the memes have basically come from. But man, I agree with what other people have said in regards to this, that it just felt like a panic move. And it reminds me a lot of when the Nuggets fired their head coach with only a few games left to go before the end of the regular season. And it just seemed like Bruce Cassidy was one of those guys who begins to wear on their players after a while. And that did seem to be the case here. And John Tortorella is much the same way. In a player poll earlier this year, I believe the top two coaches, at least I know, at number one, the coaches that players would least like to play for, number one was John Tortorella. I believe Bruce Cassidy was at bare minimum in the top 5 as well. So, I mean, neither of these guys are very desirable. I think their goal was to kind of give the players a kick in the ass, to motivate them. Motivate is the word that I've heard go around a lot. So, not surprising to see that Vegas won their first game beneath Tortorella. I just don't know if this is going to really give them the success that they're looking for in the playoffs. They've been fraudulent all year, and I don't necessarily think this is going to change that.
Oh, I don't think it's going to change that. I think it's just a pattern. This is what, his 5th team he's coached in the past decade. I don't think a single one of them has won a cup. I mean, what were in there? The Rangers, the Flyers, I know for certain, Columbus before they were fun to watch. Like, Tortorella does not have a good track record or give any confidence to say that he's going to just get this team back to the promised land. And I don't think it's necessarily going to all be his fault either. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if he gets fired once again, not in the not too distant future, be it a year from now, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. But I just don't think he's an inspiring leader, right? Like you're saying, I don't think players want to play for him. I don't think fans think, yep, this is the guy, we're going to get there. And I don't know. I think Vegas just as a whole, if it's injuries, if it's aging, it's just their whole constant buying, constant trading, constant being in the playoffs. It's unsustainable. It's always been unsustainable. They never should have gotten there that quickly. But no team, no matter how many moves you make, can stay in the playoffs forever, year on year. Even dynasties come to an end. Look at Montreal, for example. We talked about them last week. They had all those wins. When's the last time they won a Stanley Cup? So, it's just the ebbs and flows of the NHL. And I do think the Knights are flowing towards a downturn and towards a wall here. Especially with the drop off of players like Aiden Hill, who just haven't been playing nearly as well as last season in net. And I don't think they have the depth of prospects, right, from all the moves they've made to be consistently good for a while. So if it's coaching, if it's not, I do think Vegas is heading for the cliff. And as a Sharks fan, couldn't be more thrilled.
And I just ultimately think, not that he hasn't had success in the past, but I think right now the style of coaching that John Tortorella does not fit the modern NHL. And I just don't think it's good. I do not think that it is a good style of coaching. Unrelated to his coaching, though, I did learn something interesting in that John Tortorella believes that his true calling in life is animal conservation. And he really is passionate about that. I learned he saved a struggling shelter. And he went there day after day to revive it. And that's kind of what he wants to do after he's done coaching, which he should be done coaching. And what's crazy is I'd much rather prefer him behind the bench than, as an analyst. He is a piss awful analyst. But, it's really interesting that he's the kind of guy who you can tell just hates people. But my God, does he love and care for animals? So still a good human being deep down. Absolutely. But my goodness, do I wish to never see him around the NHL again. But anyway, I do want to touch on Brad Treliving here and Keith Pelley, because what Keith Pelley had stated in his absolute stunner of a press conference was that they had not started their replacement GM search, that they fired Brad Treliving essentially without a plan. Now, is it surprising that Brad Treliving got fired? No, but it just once again feels like a short-sighted and really kind of foolish move on the part of the Toronto Maple Leafs ownership organization here to make this decision. And now you don't have a plan. It hasn't felt like you've had a plan for the last several years, and now you really don't have a plan. And of course, you know, they were trying to target Jim Nill, who the Stars smartly just signed to a 2-year extension. And if you were just now starting the process without any idea on how to fill the position, I don't see how this team is going to claw itself out of the position that it put itself in this year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I said it last time. I don't think this team is going to be good this year. I don't think they're going to be good next year. This isn't going to necessarily answer the problem, especially not having a successor in mind. That press conference just didn't help any matters either. I realize
it did not instill any confidence. If you want a really good breakdown of it, go and watch Steve Dangle talk about it. I know some people have mixed opinions of Steve. I like Steve personally. His energy reminds me very much of mine, but go listen to his breakdown. Anyway, Dom, I'm sorry, continue.
Oh, I would agree, actually. He and you do have similar energies now that you say that. I haven't thought about that before, but in a good way.
No, yeah, it's definitely a compliment. I take
it that way. Yeah, well, good. I'm glad, my friend. But yeah, I honestly think the bumbling, fumbling type of press conference, like so desperately trying to convince that he doesn't believe in tanking, makes me think that much more that he's behind the scenes telling to tank intentionally, right? I think in those type of conferences, don't bring it up. I do think we need to look into tanking as a whole. You didn't mention this here, but I do want to have this conversation with you about Florida. And I get it, protect your stars. But if you're shutting down 8 players all at the same time for the final couple of weeks of the season or the final month of the season, I feel like they should have to have their first round pick move to the end of the first round. I know I'm not the only one who feels that way, because if that's not a tank, I don't know what is. It's so blatant and obvious and intentional. Like Toronto at least is winning games when they shouldn't, right? They lose Matthews, the world is falling down around them, and then they finally win some fucking games, and against like teams like Anaheim, no less. So it makes no sense to me. But then Florida, on the other hand, is over there like actually trying to lose games. So I feel like we need to do a better job as a league and as fans, maybe for calling it out, but for making sure that's punished accordingly.
Well, without getting into it too deeply, I think the PWHL has a really good way of combating tanking, basically to make teams earn it. And even if you're genuinely that bad that you can't earn it, you still get a good pick. So I think the PWHL has a good way of combating it, and we can talk about it more at a different point in time. But I'm going to go ahead and keep us moving forward here in that the Avalanche signed somebody. That's right. He cannot play for the Avs because that is how the trade deadline works, but he will play for the Colorado Eagles. The Avalanche now have, in the past, had great success with college free agent signings, the two most notable examples being Logan O'Connor and Sam Malinsky. But recently, the Avs signed Matthew, what did they say? DeMarsico, that's what it was. Matthew DeMarsico out of Penn State. Now, this is interesting, as it was stated immediately that DeMarsico is ranked second in scoring, only behind Gavin McKenna in total points, and actually led the team in goals. He is now joining, as we mentioned, the Eagles here to finish out their season and join their playoff run. Looking at his elite prospects profile, they state, quote, DeMarsico just plays the game the right way. He isn't overwhelmingly skilled, but his ability to force the opposition into turnovers and support the puck once it's back in his team's possession makes for constant offensive zone time, close quote. Then, upon viewing his highlights versus Ohio State, a couple things stood out to me. One is that he can play with high-end players. He was consistently on a line with Gavin McKenna and was able to both set up his line mates and vice versa. While I see him as a bottom six or to middle six in this current iteration of the Avalanche, should he ever crack the roster, it is good to know that he's someone who could possibly step up in the face of injuries. He is simply listed as a, quote, forward with no position defined, as in like center or left wing, right wing, but it looked as though he's primarily playing the wings in his highlights. He was incredibly strong and persistent on the puck, and despite only being a $180, was hard to push off of it. He is often described as an energizer bunny and a two-way or power forward, and the player that I feel would best that I would best equate him to on the Avalanche right now is Valeri Nichushkin. I genuinely think this is someone Avs fans should keep an eye out for going forward. The collegiate system has clearly paid dividends for DeMarsico, as he has attained new career highs and continued to elevate each year that he was with Penn State. I could certainly see him making a case for himself in the next couple of years to be on the Avalanche and even getting a call-up in the upcoming season if it feels right. But that's just speculation on my part. But players like this have the possibility of being sneaky good pickups and cheap ads for NHL clubs, especially ones who will have to be carefully navigating the cap as Colorado will in the next couple of seasons.
Well, I think that's important right there is navigating the cap and having depth. I do think because while he's only 180 pounds right now, he's still in college, so he's going to put on more weight when he's working out full time with the team and playing as a full time professional here. Likely starting next year, I imagine, if he's signing his contract now, of course, and getting some play with the Eagles. So, with that in mind, I think he'll fill out and get stronger, get bigger. But if he has that power forward type, sometimes it is trying to crack the NHL like that, especially with a good team like the Avalanche, who has their skill players filled out. You either have to be really good or you just have to be big and strong. So if he plays big and strong, even if he's not there yet, I'm sure he'll get there, and that improves his odds of being in a middle six or even a bottom six type of role in a pinch for the Avalanche, or even just getting a look at some point during the season to allow some of those veterans to rest, even if it's a game here or there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited. There's a couple prospects in the Avs system that I want us to keep an eye on going forward. And I mean, that's the important part here for the Avalanche. They don't have draft picks. So it's important that they can identify, I think, this still young and future talent through other means, because this is something that they can still do. They can still sign these young college prospects, and that's a smart thing for them to do to replace the draft capital that they've, been spending on these trades. So really things like this are very intelligent moves by Avs management to still keep some youth possibilities in their future so that the team, once the core starts to age out, isn't totally fucking screwed.
Yeah, you can't be so barren of talent and of prospects that the team just ceases to exist or basically be an AHL club after this dynastic window type of thing, when you have your window of cup opportunity ends. Also, I just have to briefly side tangent because the Sharks just scored on their first shot of the game against the Ducks. Whoop, whoop. Will Smith on the power play from who else? Macklin Celebrini. So we'll talk about some numbers and exciting things a bit later. But as far as what you're saying here about DeMarsico, I do think you make a great point about just having those options available, being able to have that college scouting. Because it sounds like then what you're saying, he was not a draft pick of theirs that they're just now signing to his like ELC. So that's important. When you talk about the Avalanche having great pro scouting as well, they've done a great job filling in some of their depth roles over the last few years. I think that translates very well when it comes to the college scouting, or they have a player type, and they've clearly shown that they have a really strong scouting department here in Colorado. So I don't necessarily know if those are all the same individuals, but I have to say I'm not surprised, but just once again impressed by the quality of scouting that your club has done.
Oh yeah, and I mean, when you see the way he plays, it's like, yeah, that's an Avalanche right there. He's definitely somebody who you're like, yeah, that fits the mold of the type of player that the Avalanche like to chase. And I mean, he's also somebody that you could totally see being on like a Parker Kelly, Logan O'Connor, Jack Drury kind of grind line. So he is absolutely that kind of guy. So I am excited to see going forward if he can maybe crack the roster. I don't anticipate that'll be the case in the next year. Maybe 2, I think, would be a better bet, just because the Avalanche kind of have this roster dialed in for the next like year or so. So yeah, I'll be interested though to see if he can maybe make an impact or a case for himself in the future. He's definitely somebody who will be called up to training camp this next year. Most certainly, I will not be surprised to see his name on the roster. But I mean, he looks like also, I didn't write this down, but he looks like he also has room to grow still and room for improvement and room to learn more, which is always, of course, very important. So if the Avalanche can develop him like they, I think successfully developed Sam Malinsky, who had a bit of a, tough first season, but now he's a staple in the Avalanche's defensive system. And he's really kind of Cale Makar light. And that's why you like him for that reason. So, yeah.
Definitely.
College kids are good for
point.
the Avalanche. Yeah.
Yeah. College kids are good. And you never know who's going to go out there and compete in training camp. I do think you're right, though. Typically with these type of contracts, just for all of you listening at home, if they're signing late in the season here, getting a bit of a professional tryout type of atmosphere, if you will, playing at least a full year in the AHL would be pretty standard. So I would agree 2 years from now, especially, who knows, with some of the age on your roster, there might also be more of a spot available in 2 years' time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, you never know, like if they don't bring back like a Yoel Kiviranta next year, although I think Gavin Brindley very much deserves whatever spot, depth spot that the Avalanche have opening up in the coming years here. But yes, we will go ahead and keep chugging along here. But yes, everybody keep an eye out for DiMarcico here. But now let's talk about some fights. That's right. We have gone from no goalie fights in 5 years, and now we have had the most we have seen in a season in over 2 decades. 22 years to be exact. It is fucking awesome. Last night, we saw Igor Shesterkin take on Jacob Markstrom, of all people, and it was just great to see the refs let him go. And of course, it was really funny because Markstrom skates up to Igor and he's like, "Hey, I don't like what you did to my guy." And Igor was like, "Huh, bet, pussy, let me take off my shit." And they went at it. That was definitely the best goalie fight we have had this year. Of the 3, we're at 3 now that we've had. So that one has been great.
Yeah, 3 goalie fights in a single season. I sent it to you, but the ref could have stopped Markstrom. He had him 10, 15 feet away. So clearly the NHL has caught on that as fans, we love it. It's so much fun. And they have so much extra cushioning. They're less likely to get injured. So compared to an average fight, I would argue it's less dangerous if it's goalie on goalie, but that's just my perspective. But yeah, Markstrom came skating all the way down the ice, hunting for a fight. Shesterkin was slow getting his glove hand off, which I thought was funny. But they had a heck of a brawl. In the post-game interview, Shesterkin was also saying that he thought his first one would be against Sorokin.
That's so
for the Islanders. And he said he kind of left the door open where he clearly wants to have the Isles Rangers goalie fight. Like that would be iconic. But I mean, Rangers versus Devils. I mean, some people forget, but New Jersey's just right fucking there. So they don't like the New York teams and the New York teams don't like them. So it's, I thought it was a pretty iconic moment, especially out of all the 3 fights. Not only was it the most exciting one, but the closest to like a rivalry fight we've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm just glad that whoever told the refs to let the goalies go said it, because my fucking goodness, it was so lame, because I will forever be upset that we were deprived of the Fleury versus Binnington fight. That is a crime.
Oh, that would have been so good.
That is a crime that I will never, ever forgive. No, I agree with you. It's not like I don't interrupt you ever. That is a crime I will never forgive the NHL for to this day. But that was maybe the tipping point where they saw the visceral fan reaction to how fucking dare you not let the legend beat the shit out of a snot-nosed kid, you absolute assholes. And so they're like, all right, maybe we should let the goalies go for a bit of a tilter. And now it's been a lot more regular. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves big fucking dudes in the pillows just chucking fists. And yeah, like I said, that one was far and away the best fight we have gotten in terms of goaltenders this year, and probably in recent memory. That was a good tilt. Like, not quite to the level of Cam Talbot and Mike Smith, but that one was really good.
It would take one of, if not the best goalie fight in history to get to the Cam Talbot, Mike Smith level. But
which would
that
be
one,
Patty Waugh versus everybody.
True. The Patty Waugh did have some crazy ones. Go look up those highlights. Oh my God, Patty Waugh, what a guy. But yeah, I think it's great for the game in this time when we're talking about trying to grow the game. The goalie fights are recognizable. They get attention outside of just the hockey sphere, and it's helping pull in new fans. And so I do think the NHL is right to try to capitalize on that. I wonder if in the offseason we'll see some rules or officiating, if there's certain cases where they're told to let them go and told to keep them back, or how punishments for goalies go. It would be really funny, just as a hypothetical rule, but I think it'd be really funny if you made both goalies sit in the penalty box with all their gear for 5 minutes and put in both backups. I think that would be an obnoxious but hilarious rule that I wouldn't mind seeing incorporated. I don't think it will be, but I'm here to throw the idea into the conversation.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I've seen that exact idea floated around as you've just suggested like a few times, and so that's always really funny to think about. Like, you have to put in your backup for the night for like a few minutes just or for 5 minutes while the goalie's sitting there. But I don't know. I don't think that'd be very, I know why they don't. I don't think it'd be very fair to the guys basically having to come in cold and then get to only play for 5 minutes and then basically go and sit back down on the bench. I just don't think it makes sense, unfortunately. It would be funny. I absolutely agree, but I understand why they don't do it.
Yeah, maybe it's just one of those things when you see line brawls and see the penalty box packed full of bodies, right? And a goalie would take up like 2 or 3 of those spots with all the pillows, as you put it. So it would definitely be fun to see, especially in that scenario, if you had to fit all 6 guys in there, if it was a full line brawl. But anyway, I know you're right. There's reasons for it not to happen, and they make sense. And you make a good point about not being fair to those backup goalies. But anyway, like I said, it'd just be fun. It'd be silly. Maybe at like an all-star game type of thing, we could see something like wacky like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, if the goalies commit a penalty, they actually make the goalies sit in the box. That'd be pretty funny. I agree with you, but that would be quite the sight. That would be very, I think, very, very meme worthy for sure.
Especially if they were chirping each other. But
oh yeah,
we have other fights to talk about.
Yes,
we're
do.
We're breaking the first rule of Fight Club, but we have to talk about these fights.
Radko Gudas, and I want to give my thoughts on this real quick, and then feel free to give yours, respond to mine. He basically played through injury. He is hurt, but he said that he wanted to show up for the Toronto game to basically atone for what he did to Austin Matthews, which, like, that I understand. And I don't necessarily want to say the word that, like, I respect it. I appreciate that he is at least taking responsibility for that. He answered the bell, and of course that game was very chirpy the whole night. And, the fact that a couple people stepped up for the Leafs that night is, admirable. I'm glad that they did that. But that being said, I still can't say that I respect Gudas, despite him, I think somewhat foolishly playing through injury, possibly making it worse, especially when your team is on the cusp of playoffs here. You know what I mean? You don't want to make yourself more hurt, especially as a captain. You're relied upon for a lot of different things. But at the same time, it's the hockey code. I understand that he's following that rule, that unwritten rule. but I still don't respect him because he did what he did anyway. He still basically ruined the rest of Austin Matthews' season. He fucked up his knee, not beyond repair, thankfully, but he still fucked up his knee. He still stuck out his knee when he absolutely did not have to. So I can't say that for me, despite him, as I put it, atoning for his sins, I can't say that I respect him anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a full atonement. Maybe it's penance for one sin if we're going to get uber down that path. But I think the word I would use is not respect, but recognize. Because it's exactly that. It's following the hockey code. And so that should be a 101. That's not something that gets you praise or added respect. It's just the bare minimum a little bit. And he failed to meet the bare minimum when he committed that hit in the first place, right? Toronto in turn failed to meet the minimum when they didn't answer the bell in that game. So I guess it gave both teams an opportunity. It gave Radko Gudas and Toronto as a whole team the opportunity to get back to the baseline level. Not like they have respect, but again, just back to reasonable accountability in light of the code. I do think as captain of his team, it's the right thing to do in this instance so that his guys aren't vulnerable to being targeted, because he took some shots in that game. It wasn't just the one fight, but they were trying to dish out punishment. So, I think it is the right thing to do as a leader to go out there, take your medicine so that other guys, especially the young stars on the Ducks, didn't have to. Especially even more so as a playoff team. Who is more important? Some of their star players who could have taken a shot, or Radko Gudas with playoffs right around the corner. So I agree that I wouldn't advise ever playing through injury, but in this case, maybe it was a better option than what, than him not playing. The risk of the injuries to other players when he's already injured, So in a cost-benefit analysis, I could see both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, everybody? Tell us what you think about the whole Radko Gudas situation. Do you think going in was the right decision? Do you think, he's just obeying the code? Do you think it's irresponsible? What do you think of Radko Gudas? Let us know. But we're going to move into our main segments here. And this one I'm excited to talk about because I got to really dig into the standings today, which, of course, who's watching the standings that closely? Not me. Just kidding. It is me. But the title of this segment is Every Point Matters. We are a little over 2 weeks away from the conclusion of the regular season. I know. It's Dom, are you okay? Are you all right? I just heard a bang.
Yeah, I'm all right. I think my garbage disposal just came unplugged behind me from the dishwasher running.
Oh,
they're like,
fuck?
It comes unplugged in underneath the sink next to the dishwasher, and sometimes it'll the cable will just fall and it'll be a loud thunk from behind me.
Okay, I was just making sure
vibration or whatever in the pipes. I'm good.
I was just making sure you didn't just eat shit somehow in the background there. I was just concerned. So good to know that you're all right.
I was just sitting so hard that I face planted, That's
totally what I was concerned about. I was like, is he all right? But I
chilling
know.
So hard listening to you, but I'll stop distracting.
But yes, everyone, it's crazy. The regular season is now almost over. We have made it from October to April. We are rounding it out. And I'm sad. I love the regular season. I like hockey being on all the time. But, we have been building to this point all year. So, we are certainly very excited. But despite, again, being a little over 2 weeks away from the conclusion of the regular season, we still have no idea who the Avs' first-round opponent is going to be. But it goes much further than that. Most playoff matchups with 8 to some teams with as little as 6 games remaining are not set.
Damn.
That's right. The point totals are so tightly contested that we genuinely have no certainty on who is playing who until the conclusion of the final 60 minutes on April 16th. I also realized I worded that very oddly. I didn't know how to say it, but most teams have 8 games remaining, but some have as little as 6 games remaining. And most of these therefore meaning most of these playoff matchups, shockingly, with that few games remaining, are not set. So that's what I'm trying to say. Does that make sense? That makes sense. But to give you some perspective on where everything stands, we'll start in the hyper-competitive Eastern Conference. Literally, the only certainty is first in the Metro being the Hurricanes. But even they are facing uncertainty, as they may not even win the conference, as they are tied with Buffalo at 100 points. However, despite Buffalo sitting atop the Atlantic with 100 points, Tampa Bay sits right behind them with 98 points and a game in hand. Then don't forget about Montreal, who have 96 points, also with a game in hand. Currently, you have Pittsburgh and the Islanders in the 2 and 3 spots in the Metro, but that doesn't mean a damn thing, as Columbus is literally 1 point out of third. Philadelphia, if they even go on a mini run, is right there, and even the Capitals have a decent shot of usurping a spot for themselves. Then you have the wild card race with Boston in that first spot with 94 points, which could still net them a top 3 spot in the Atlantic and would have them firmly in second if they were in the Metro. Then Columbus holds the number 2 spot with 88 points. But wait, Ottawa is right there with 86 points and a game in hand over Columbus. But wait, Detroit and Philadelphia also have 86 points and a game in hand. The hilarious part about Detroit and Ottawa in particular is that they came from completely opposite ends of the division and are now both fighting for the same playoff spot. The Red Wings at one point led the Atlantic Division. The Senators were also in last at one point this season, as were the Sabres, who now lead the East. The most insane part of all is with so few games left, you'd think someone within the East would have clinched a playoff spot, right? Wrong. Literally not a single team in the East has clinched. In fact, the only teams to clinch are Dallas and Colorado over in the West. Dom, I want to give you a chance to interject here on the Eastern side before we talk about the West. So any additional comments?
Well, yeah, I think when you mentioned Philadelphia going on a mini run, they have been. They lost their most recent game, but they won 3 straight to be there back in consideration with a game in hand. Washington has won 3 straight. They don't have the game in hand, but are just 1 further point back. Boston woke up at the right time to win 4 straight. Columbus, after I'm hyping them up, have lost 4 straight. So the East is so all over the place, up and down. It's a wazzy, it's a woozy. It makes me think of that scene from with Matthew McConaughey from Wolf of Wall Street, because it's not even real. It's there, it's not there. It changes every second of every day, it feels like, but oh my God, it doesn't get more exciting than that, because we aren't invested in the East. I mean, I know you're invested pretty heavily, just personally, in wanting Montreal to succeed.
Yes.
But we don't have a team in the East, so we just get to watch this chaos unfold and enjoy it. And this is a case where we're all going to be happy to watch whatever hockey we can on April 16th to see what'll be decided, because teams could be jumping as many as 2 spots, go from a wild card spot all the way to, I mean, even a number 2 seed in their division, potentially, depending on how close it is. I mean, it's not crazy to say that.
No, it is not. That's the remarkable part about it, really. And that's why it's just funny, I guess, is the word I could use. I don't know, in all of my years watching hockey, if I have seen it this tight. I'm not saying that it's never been this tight, but I personally have never, ever seen it this tight. Have you?
I don't think so, no, because even in last place, we shit on the Rangers, and sure, they only have 71 points, but they've won 3 straight. They're still playing spoiler. The one team in the East that we mentioned last week was eliminated, are still winning games too, and putting all of these teams to the test. So top to bottom, it is better than I've ever seen it.
Better is an interesting choice of words, I think, but I don't necessarily think
more insane, more competitive.
Yeah,
is
not
that
necessarily
better than saying better.
Not necessarily incorrect one though. I don't think you're wrong necessarily to say better. But the West, people like to gloat that the West is weaker this year, and yes, that is true. Particularly the atrocious Pacific Division, but even that division is still plenty competitive. As for us, as faithful, we're safe. And we'll talk about our team in a bit because the points do still matter for us, but in a much different way than they do for the teams beneath. In terms of the Central, the top three are locked, and that has been the case virtually all season. Literally no other team in the Central is even close to third place. The gap between third and fourth, being between the Wild and the Mammoth, is a staggering 12 points. But from there, it gets interesting. Utah holds the number one wildcard spot, but they are far from safe in it. Even with a 5-point lead, the Preds have come from nowhere to claim spot number 2, as we talked about last week. But they're not just sitting pretty at just 77 points. The Jets and Kings are right behind them with 76 points. Now, the Jets have come from purgatory, so it's just how weak the West is. And the Kings even have a game in hand. Then San Jose and Seattle have 75 points, meaning they are just a win back of taking the spot, each with a minimum game in hand. San Jose, in fact, has 2. Even the Blues have an outside shot at 73 points. Literally anything is possible. As faithful, we aren't going to know our opponent until the last minute. Kind of fun, though, no? Then there's the Pacific, that the Ducks are barely leading, with Edmonton taking command of the pillow fight. The Knights are falling off hard and have tumbled all the way to third. If their play keeps up, they could even lose their spot entirely. Really, it could be anyone in the West or East because only 2 teams have been eliminated, so nothing is truly set in stone. Finally, the Avalanche. There are several scenarios present for the Avalanche to ultimately claim the Central Division, Western Conference, and President's Trophy. The Avalanche currently have 108 points, which is an 8-point lead on Dallas and the other 2 100-point teams in the East previously mentioned. The Avs also have the tiebreaker with more regulation wins than the Stars, should that scenario arise. But the Avalanche have 2 games in hand over Dallas as well. Should Dallas win all of their remaining 7 games, that would leave them with a total of 114 points. All the Avs need to do is, at a minimum, all the Avs need to do at a minimum to claim the division in the West is to win at least 4 of their remaining 9 games. That would leave them with an unreachable 116 points. The only other team who could possibly catch that number is Carolina. If they win the President's Trophy, fine. But the important thing is that the Avalanche secure home ice and first place at all costs. You don't want to have to deal with Dallas in round 1, and when you do see them, you want to have Game 7 be on your home ice. Ice. Breathe deep, Avs faithful. We should be excited for what's to come, especially if the Avalanche continue to play as they have, except not how they have in this fucking Canucks game, but we'll get to that. Dom, the West.
Ice.
Don't make fun of me.
Oh, we haven't said Red Wings in a while, so I had to go for Ipes there. Sorry, I'm not making fun of you.
How dare you?
I do so because I love. But yeah, the wildcard 2 spot. Does anybody even want it? Because Nashville surged to take it, and now they've lost 3 straight. You have 6 teams separated by 4 points, fighting for 1 spot. And with how bad Vegas is, who knows? They could slip into that race too, which would just bring my heart joy because they actually have less wins than the Sharks this year. OT loss merchant frauds they are 33, 26, and 16 to the Sharks 34, 31, and 7. You heard that right, Sharks fans. We have more wins than Vegas, so we have that small victory over them. But also, yeah, the Sharks do have the most games left to play out of the entire league. Counting tonight's game, they have 10 games left to play. So the opportunity is still there. Anybody can win this. The Blues are great one night and then awful the next, or they forget how to goaltend, and then Hofer reminds them. It's also so up and down. It's exciting. Are these teams nearly as good as the ones in the East? No, but is the battle just as close and enticing for that wild card spot? Absolutely. And last thing, you're absolutely right about Edmonton. They are the only team in the Pacific Division to have a positive goal differential on the season.
And I mean, God, I was just going to say, is it not so unbelievably dumb that the Sharks have won more games than the Vegas Golden Knights, who for the first time in their history will end the season, no matter what, with more losses than they have wins? And the Sharks, who everybody likes to still shit on for some reason, will ultimately come away with more wins than Vegas and still possibly don't make the playoffs. How does that make any fucking sense? That's so dumb.
We need a scoring system update. We do. Gary Bettman's in charge. It's not going to happen,
man.
But we need it. We need it. This. If you're going to do OT losses this way, OT wins need to be worth less points. Granted, I feel like that still helps the OT loss teams. So, I don't know. With
Gary in charge, we're never seeing that change. Sorry, brother.
I know. And I've been campaigning for the 1 through 8. It would still be the same 8 teams. It would just reorganize them slightly, right? But it is exciting. I mean, Los Angeles is just as, actually, let's say it, more fraudulent. 29, 26, and 18.
That's insane.
Woof. That is so bad. And yet they are 1 point out of a playoff spot with a game in hand. The rest of the West has just been a letdown that's even remotely acceptable. I do think Winnipeg should be considered as maybe not the favorite, but a strong contender for that spot because they have the most experience. They've been there before. They've been there as recently as last year, right?
That.
But and they also have Hellebuck, who can just steal games left and right. So, but so I'm not surprised that they're back into the hunt of it all. I don't think they necessarily want to make it in the playoffs because we know how Colorado versus Winnipeg as a series goes. So I think anybody else getting in that spot would just be more exciting because maybe we'll see something new.
Yeah, hell, maybe so. And I would appreciate if it wasn't Winnipeg. I just would rather not see them again, to be totally honest with you. But I guess the Sharks, well, that's what I want to say. I guess the Sharks should have had more OT losses, I suppose. Gosh, you guys just couldn't get it to OT enough, I guess. My fucking goodness.
Well, we were winning like 3/4 of the time we made it to OT as well.
I know. So I guess when you guys lost, you just lost like real losers. You didn't get the loser point.
Yeah, we didn't get any pity point.
Yeah, no pity point for the Sharks. But now as for actual, hold on, I need to make sure we don't give up another goal. We just gave up another goal. Awesome. We're just giving the Canucks breakaway after breakaway and 2-on-1s. Like I genuinely would like to know what it is we think we're doing tonight. Oh boy, this is really pissing me off. Now then, as for actual games, the final meeting of Winnipeg sucked. Not because the team played bad per se, and to be honest, I didn't get to finish my viewing of this game for various reasons, but because Winnipeg plays such a boring brand of hockey right now. They have one line and set of players who can score. That's it. Scheifele and Kyle Connor, and continuously get bailed out by Connor Hellebuck over and over again. This Avs team can beat this Jets team, and they hung in for as long as they could against them in this most recent meeting, but ultimately things just didn't go their way. Not much to worry about or an overall concern. The Avs generated a cushion for themselves that allows them to drop a game or two like this. And Winnipeg has always been a thorn in the side of the regular season Avalanche, but should they have to face them in the first round, the Avs have proven that they can beat Connor Hellebuck when every game matters. But I am grateful we do not have to see that team again, at least in the regular season. But honestly, talking about a non-memorable loss is boring and not fun. So let's talk about something much more fun, and that's the Avalanche utterly sunning the Calgary Flames. What's hilarious is Flames fans were very happy about this game because it just continues to drive up their draft lottery Draft lottery odds. That's what I was trying to say. And really,
Honorary Lods.
All right. And really, what's
really quickly? Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
I have to ask. Sunning the Calgary Flames, like I'm hearing that. I didn't have it pulled up right in front of me at the time, so I'm picturing like them tanning themselves, and I'm like, they're Flames, sun. That seems like that would be useful to them. So I'm sure that's not how you mean it, but my brain is slow to process this one. So sorry to interrupt, but while I am interrupting, thought I'd ask.
It is not. The way I mean it is that the Avalanche turned the Calgary Flames into their son.
Oh, okay.
They
that
became the Flames'
sense.
daddy.
Understood. As you can see where my brain's at on this evening.
Much more wholesome. But, Flames fans, they know very well where their team stands. They just traded their number one center, whom they want to see succeed on the Avs. They're beginning to nurture their young prospects with some NHL time at the end of the season. They still have some solid veterans for those players to learn from. They have a ton of draft capital with a little bit of additional luck. This rebuild for the Flames should not be a long one at all. But man, did they look like a peewee team against the Avalanche. This game started so calm, too, in the first 5 minutes. Just, a bit of a feeling out process. And then suddenly the Avalanche dropped a fucking mountain on top of these guys. Literally 5 goals in period 1. 50 shots on goal by the end of the game. Or by game end. Most since 2024. And unfortunately for the Flames, the Avalanche had somehow lost 4 straight at home coming into this game. Ball is not an arena the Avs have lost in often this season. Therefore, they're out to improve and prove a point. And boy, did they. Jack Drury hit his 10th of the season to kick things off, and it was a wild goal off of the ass of Dustin Wolf. Nothing he really could have done, but the Flames were still in it. But with that 10th goal by Jack Drury, the Avs now have 11 players with 10 goals or more. Ross Colton just needs to net 1 more to make that number 12. Oh, also, Nathan MacKinnon, now no longer, just needs 1 more goal to hit 50, which he did tonight against the Vancouver Canucks. Also, to interject, Cale Makar left this game with an injury, but it appears to be purely precautionary. Jared Bednar stated it isn't anything serious. Cale made an appearance at an event with no brace or other injury equipment on and seemed overall fine, just protecting and being mindful of his health for the playoffs, but nothing seems to be in jeopardy here. He's just out for the time. Nick Blankenberg will draw in next to Brent Burns, and Josh Manson will play with Brett Kulak, which should be a really fun pairing. But anyways, the Avs, after goal number 1, began shelling Dustin Wolf. I mean, this dude is holding on by a thread. Got so bad, the Flames took not 1, but 2 penalties, leading to a 5-on-3, and the Avs capitalized on both. They made identical plays to Nazem Kadri to help him burn his old club. Suddenly, the Avs are ahead 3-0. And then by goal number 4 is when they mercifully pulled Dustin Wolf, only to let Devin Cooley get shelled for another 5 goals after that. But to say the Avalanche utterly dominated period number 1 would be underselling it. They had 25 shots. Against Winnipeg, they only had 23 total. Also, Kelly takes another step towards goal number 20 with the 5th one. It was just, you're just sitting there like, oh no. Also, the Avalanche, with that power play goal, had 14 in March to lead the league. Boy, oh boy, if we could really actually figure this thing out, wouldn't that be great? It feels like we're actually starting to do that, which is exciting. So if we can score 5-on-5, which they have done all season, and then score with the man advantage too, who can stop the Avalanche? But boy, oh boy, do I love that. And I mean, really, the Avalanche, I think, probably played one of them, not perfect, because obviously it wasn't a shutout, but man, did they play a very well-structured game of hockey. The Flames couldn't do anything without an Avalanche stick in the way. Every time the Flames tried to pass a puck, whether it was saucing it or just down on the ice, just Av stick immediately. And the number of turnovers the Avs generated in that game was brutally obscene. The shutout bid was crushed. It was a very fluky goal. I don't blame Wedgwood for any of the ones that ended up getting past him. And what was funny is in the second period, Calgary was really trying to cherry pick a breakaway goal just to do anything. And I mean, for the second period, I was going to give it to the Flames. I was going to say, hey, you won this round. Good job, even though, you're still losing by 4. But unfortunately, in the final minute, or up until the final minute, they were the only team with a goal. And, they were much more structurally sound from period 1. And the Avs took their foot off the gas a little bit. But, oh boy, Calgary really, they redeemed themselves from the first period. They put in a solid effort, and then they took a penalty and allowed the Avs to score their 3rd power play goal on the night. So, yeah. Also, fun fact, whenever Joe Sakic had a 50-goal season, the Avalanche won the Stanley Cup. Milan Hajduk was also in attendance at that game. So that was really cool to do that in front of him. And then the Avs had another 20 shots in the 3rd period. So basically the first and the third, identical periods, because they scored another 4 goals or another 3 goals at that point. It was a brutal performance for the Calgary Flames. The Avalanche just made their youth look pretty silly. And boy, I wish they would be doing that against basically an AHL team. But the Canucks have given us trouble all season, really. And so this is one of those trap games. And I'm not going to get too far into it because I'd rather just talk about it next week. Because right now I am really not happy that halfway into the second period, the Avs are being outshot 14-8, which is just, that's not okay. So I'll kind of wait on it. But boy, oh boy, defense feels somewhat optional tonight because the Avalanche are just giving up chances that they really shouldn't be. But I'm going to cut that there. Dom, we thought it was all over. A losing streak. Unable to pull out wins. The Sharks seemed as though their playoff hopes had been dashed. But the boys say otherwise. Macklin is at 100 points. They're pulling out gritty wins. The rest of the Pacific is still absolutely fucking ass. The chance is still alive. Can they pull off this miracle? Can the Sharks push to play the Avalanche in round 1 of the 2025-2026 playoffs? Can Macklin set a new Sharks point record as a teenager? It's time for In the Tank with Dom.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Because that's what happened. That's what happened. I was here sulking last week. Did admittedly not do the best job I could for you guys. I was struggling to find creative notes. And so I directed In the Tank to talk more about brackets. So I hope you enjoyed the cookie madness. Because it was a tough couple of weeks. And this team looked fully out of it. And now they're back in it. I mean, that's a testament to how bad the West is and how quickly things can change, with the swing of momentum, getting some guys back healthy. But before I dive fully in the tank here, Corey, I did want to respond to or add to a couple of things you had there because this is why you got Nick Blankenburg at the deadline. This is exactly the reason you go and trade for a 7th D-man is so that in these moments you can still field an NHL defensive 3 pairings, have a full roster of 6 guys available, be able to have Cale Makar healthy for the playoffs. And you're right, he is fine. It's nothing major, but now for sure he can be at his absolute best and most rested. So 100% just wanted to go all the way back to that deadline move and compliment that again, because that was a huge, huge move from the Avalanche that I think goes very underappreciated, underrated.
Well, thank you. And I mean, I'm sure Nick Blankenburg is happy to, I think, be around as well in this situation because we are certainly happy to have him. Although this has been a rough game for everybody tonight. The Canucks are just playing with a lot of intensity as they always tend to do. And I mean, it's a chance to prove yourself, right? It's like, oh, we're going to play the Avalanche. Well, let's fucking bring our absolute best. And this is what they are doing right now. And the Avalanche are not really stepping up to the task at the moment. And again, this is just one of those games where it's like, you kind of, I think, knew deep down. It's like, oh, it's the worst team in the league. This should be an easy win. We should beat their fucking ass. And we're not doing it.
Yeah, I mean, best team versus worst team. This game means a lot more to those guys because a lot of them are playing for a job, a spot on the roster next year. with the amount of injuries and then different trades and things in Vancouver, it's a lot of AHL talent, or at least was AHL talent to start the season. So guys out here playing for their jobs, their livelihood, it matters more, and they have a chance to go put on a show against the best team in the league. Probably the biggest game left on their calendar that they had bookmarked. So
Oh yeah.
I do think in that case, in that way, it is a trap game. For every other team in the league, Vancouver is not a trap game right now. Having lost six straight.
Oh my God, I'm going to have to
turn
turn this off.
When it is best against worst like that, and you have a chance to fight for your job, it makes for a trap game. But I do not want to keep you suffering in this moment, so I will dive into the tank.
I was going to say, let's talk about anything fucking else right now.
Well, how about this? To distract yourself, do you want to tell me about the now second all-time single-season goal scorer in San Jose Sharks history?
Well, is it just goals? Is it points and goal
Points.
Scoring? Yeah.
Points.
Well, I don't know what the Sharks goal record is for a season. Have you had any 50 point or 50 goal scorers?
I think it's like Chichu with like 62.
Jesus. Jonathan Chichu with the fucking sniper. I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's such a low-key name. Obviously, I'm aware of Jonathan Chichu, but it's like, if you're asking people, who's your all-time favorite Shark? I doubt very many of them are going to say Jonathan Chichu.
I mean, as a kid, based on A, what age I would have been, and B, his name sounds like Choo Choo, and I was a big train head, like with Thomas the Tank Engine
of course.
type of shit. So I loved Chichu in that 05-06 season. I have to correct myself. It was 56 goals. I thought it was 62. It was 56. So I don't want to be reporting poorly here. I just Googled it to double check myself.
Yes, important distinction. And again, I think Macklin Celebrini will probably break that one day. Although 50 goals is hard. 60 is a big fucking number. So if he never got to that one, I wouldn't necessarily look down on him for that. That is a hard number to accomplish. But I mean, with Macklin Celebrini, I'd believe anything is possible.
Oh, this kid has changed the trajectory of this entire franchise. Rewriting the storybooks as we know it. The last 100-plus point season, Erik Karlsson, when he went on a tear just a few years ago as a defenseman. Well, Macklin has
and that team was
that benchmark.
Ass. That team was ass.
Well, that's why a defenseman was leading in scoring, because somebody had to shoot the puck because of how bad that team was. It was so depressing to watch. But that was because that's the thing too with EK, because he'd be scoring the goals, but he would still have a minus on his plus minus because he was such a defensive liability. So it was like he couldn't score, even with 101 points, he couldn't score enough to compensate for how many points he was conceding on the other end. Was part of why that team was so bad. But enough of the dark times. We have Macklin now, and he tied that second place all time, 101 points in a season earlier this week in 10 fewer games. That meant he was just 13 points behind the San Jose Sharks franchise record for most points in a single season. 13 points behind Jumbo Joe Thornton with 10 games to play. Jumbo Joe is still housing Macklin Celebrini. He is still living with Thornton and his family. This is an incredible story. Every home game, Joe Thornton is there. Honestly, what sucks, and I hope he goes on the road, is the Sharks' final 3 games of the season are on the road. So I really, really, really hope Joe Thornton's on the team playing with them so that if Macklin breaks it, he's in the building. That is something I'm personally hoping and rooting for, and I'm sure he would be. But you know, it would be disappointing, I guess, if he wasn't. So I'm just operating under the assumption that he will be there. Corey, please help reassure me.
No, I agree. And I mean, when it's a situation that's that major where a milestone can be passed, I agree. I would imagine that he'll do his best to be there. Obviously, Joe Thornton is a man with a family, wife and kids to take care of, and obviously hockey children to take care of as well. He is just a super dad at this point. But yeah, I think Joe will probably be in attendance as much as he is able to be.
Yeah, and I do as well. And Macklin certainly is his hockey child. It's cool to see all the people from the Bay Area though coming out. At one of the games they cut to during intermission a clip of him with his father, but who was talking to Rick Nash.
Oh
Or
my.
no, sorry, his dad is sorry, Rick Celebrini. It was Steve Nash. Sorry, I'm just crossing wires here. Talking to Steve Nash, basketball player formerly of Santa Clara University, right? Big in the Bay Area. Guys, my brain is not working today. I was under
I'm
the
telling
weather
you,
today, so the brain
neither is
fog
mine.
real. But without further ado, let me dive into these games before I start making even less sense here talking.
Start short circuiting.
I think I already did start short circuiting, so it's just a matter of keeping the circuit breaker working long enough.
Understandable.
Thursday, March 26th, we were recording this podcast episode last week, and it was quite the game. Not the most riveting game with the scoreboard, but it had a shitty ending, Corey, because you watched it with me and you heard my suffering. Oh my God. Hofer had a great game in net for the Blues, like we talked about. It was the start of a duel with Askarov pitching a shutout before Vinny Desharnais checked a Blues player into him and sent him out of the game with an injury where he was holding his neck. Thankfully, he's okay, and I'll talk about him more a little bit later. But then Ned came in relief, was respectable before allowing a gut-wrenching goal, top shelf, just right under the bar with 3 seconds remaining in overtime. Man, that was painful. This was every bit a goalie duel. I throughout this game with both goalies for the Sharks putting up a solid performance. I do think Askarov obviously pitching the shutout while he was in was the better of the two, and he also made the more flashy saves. But Ned still had a respectable night. The Sharks just didn't put the puck in the net. And once again, when Macklin didn't score a point, they lost. So that streak continues. It was 1-15-2 now on the season when Macklin is kept off the score sheet. So this was not the game where he was trying to set any records.
That reminds me of, as well as accompanied by his accomplishment here, that Macklin Celebrini in NHL history has the largest point margin between first and second on his team. He has more points than Will Smith and I forget who is third combined.
Wenberg.
Yeah, Will Smith and Wenberg combined do not have as many points as Macklin Celebrini does. That's fucking insane.
Well,
obviously that will change.
Total offense.
Yeah.
Well, you sent it to me, Corey. His percentage of total offense, or the team's total offense, meaning the percentage of goals he factors into with either getting the goal himself or an assist, 46.3%. Still, we talked about this early in the season where he was scoring on getting at least a point for himself on 53% of goals that the team was scoring, and that was earlier in the year. We would expect that to drop off and regress to the mean more and more with time, and it's still right now the best in league history, ahead of the great one, Wayne Gretzky, whose best percentage of team offense came in the 1979-80 season with 45.5% that year. Macklin's at 46.3.
And obviously,
oh my God.
Obviously that's not something that you necessarily want to have, and in the future, I imagine that will not necessarily be the case. Although Nathan MacKinnon factors in on a lot of the team's offense, but the rest of the team still carries the weight. I think that's kind of the difference there. But also, I was going to say, imagine how many of those goals that he factored in on as the guy who set up the actual play. You know what I mean? Where he didn't get a point on it, but he was still responsible for facilitating. He was responsible for the breakout or something like that. I could only imagine just how extreme it gets at that point.
Yeah, and there was one of those goals in the most recent game against the Blues. The Sharks played the Blues twice this week, once at St. Louis and once on Monday night at home. But in between that, on Saturday, They played at Columbus, who had been on a tear,
Okay, this
who've
game's
now
getting
lost
turned
a few
off.
straight. Oof, I'm sorry. What's the score?
I'm not going to
6?
tell you.
Okay. I can look it up here in a little bit. But in this game against Columbus, I want to talk about this as a team win because Columbus got off to a fast start, scored a goal just 31 seconds into the game. And the Sharks of a year ago would collapse and be down 4-0 by the time the first period was over. The Sharks this year respond and they took their chances. They had great opportunities throughout the first period. Yes, Columbus had more shots on goal technically, but the Sharks had what felt like the better of the chances and that it was brewing. You could feel a goal was coming. And it was Igor Chernyshov drawing back into the lineup. God, I'm so happy he's back in the lineup. He needs to stay there. I've been saying it all year. He eventually evened up the score late in the first period off a give and go combo with Will Smith. I don't think anybody else got an assist on this one, but Macklin had the first pass to Will Smith. So just like you were talking about, Corey, Macklin had the pass to Chernyshov, who passed to Smith, who passed it back. So I don't know if that counted as an assist for Macklin. I'd have to double check the stat sheet if that one counted for him. But in any case, it was great to see Chernyshov back out there. This is the top line. This is the future. They call it the kid line. And I'm just like, no, this is a legitimate top line. We have the big physical power forward Russian who is a better player than he gets credit for. Will Smith seems to play better and more in a flow state with his assists. He's more defensively sound when he knows where Chernyshov is. So with some of the issues and the jumbling lines and shit Warsofsky was doing, you inject Chernyshov and Will Smith just plays better. So it solves some of those problems. Don't mess it up. This is the top line. That was a give and go combo. Like Macklin might have done the breakout, but that was just the two of them. That is your two wingers. Sure, Will Smith can play center, but you understand what I mean here. These are your accent pieces where it isn't just Macklin. And when we're here talking about how much Macklin is carrying this team this year, if they make it to the playoffs, it is on his back and his sheer will alone. These are the makings, the little taster of that support that is coming and brewing as this Sharks team gets better year over year. I'm going to pause there, Corey, in case you wanted to inject anything before I go through more of the actual happenings of the game.
I mean, not too much more, I think, from what I've already said, but I am excited to see where this team progresses. And I'm realizing after watching, I think, somebody else's analysis today about top prospects in the NHL, that more people are learning about Igor Chernyshov's name, as they should. I mean, I'm never a great prospect guy. I never know prospects who are coming in. Obviously, I've gotten better because, we talk about the Sharks all the time, and that's pretty much what their team is prospective talent and guys who are just now coming into the league. But man, do I think Igor Chernyshov is going to be something great? And I mean, it's crazy that I think they have a possible top 6 winger here who has the skill and ability to play and facilitate with Macklin Celebrini, because I mean, if you look at Arturi Lehkonen, he was a great forward even before coming to the Avalanche. I don't think you can deny that. He helped take the Montreal Canadiens to a Stanley Cup final, beat Vegas against all odds, and I mean that was a Cinderella run that he was, a very big piece for. But then he also comes in with the Avalanche and does the same thing, but I think even more elevated because he's the kind of guy who is, yes, talented on his own, but maybe not to the level that he would be if he wasn't playing with people like Nathan MacKinnon, who I feel like can elevate him to another level and can complement his skill set, not necessarily carry him like people would like to assert, oh, he plays on McKinnon's line, that's the only reason he's good. No, that's not what I mean, but it's more like his play style is complementary to that of like MacKinnon, for example. So I see that very much similar for Igor Chernyshov, where if he was in a different situation, maybe he wouldn't be on the top line, but the way he's able to play is complementary to the superstar that is Macklin Celebrini.
I think you make a phenomenal point here and something to understand for everyone listening. Superstars will make the people around them better. but it takes the right type of player with the right hockey IQ and skill set to be able to facilitate that superstar to play their best game and get better, to score their points. And not everyone can play at that pace of MacKinnon. Understand where he's going and put the puck where he's going to be, not where he is, and play off him instinctually and move without the puck to get to the open slot of ice where MacKinnon can get the puck to him. With how Will Smith likes to blindly spin and throw passes cross ice, which I think is part of why Warsofsky benched him. When he gets it right, though, and when his teammates read his mind, it looks spectacular. Macklin and Will have had that combo, but they were missing that balance on the other wing. And now with Chernyshov, they can all circle, they can all move freely and have that type of cerebral hockey connection. So I think that was phenomenally well put by you, Corey. And it really is a key point to hit on. Couldn't have said it better myself there, even though I just tried to add to that.
And I mean, Chernyshov is one of those guys where he doesn't get a ton of love by the media, but if you're a fan of that team, you know who that guy is. You know how valuable he is to your team and to your top line. It's the same with Artturi Lehkonen. You don't hear about him a lot in the media, but if you know who Artturi Lehkonen is, you know. And, you'll see him do amazing things, like his clutch goal for Finland in overtime to send them to the bronze medal game.
And it's funny you mentioned clutch. You know what? I'll skip to the end here. I'll push through the middle just so we can get to why it's clutch with Igor, because Columbus showed up for their goaltender. Merzlikins robbed the Sharks twice with one save where it was halfway across the goal line, another one that was sitting in the paint and he had to sprawl out, diving across to cover it. And then Columbus responded, tipped the ice back the other way, scored a goal to go up 2-1. But the Sharks early in the third period execute a perfect face-off play. Wenberg wins the offensive zone face-off straight back to Dmitry Orlov, who one-touch passes it across to Celebrini. Say it with me, Corey. Celebrini hit an absolute
pass missile!
One-timer from the power play, for the power play goal, just 3 seconds. 3 seconds into the man advantage. Boom. It does not get more perfect of a face-off draw play than that. And the Sharks continue to push the pace of play. Both teams had solid opportunities. Nedeljkovic made some quality saves. Again, Askarov was not in for this game. But it was building, and you could feel it coming. And when it's late in the third period, 1:25 left to play, guess who showed up? Yes, Will Smith blindly turns, like twisting his body, fires a beautiful cross-ice pass, but Chernyshov is the one there to rifle home a one-timer of his own, a piss missile of his own. I mean, he was down on one knee practically, got it underneath the leg of the defender who was sliding and passed Merzlikins into the wide-open net. Just beautiful hockey to watch. Clutch timing, though. That's why I just wanted to get through the other stuff quickly, because what you mentioned about Lecky, it's another good comparison. It is a great Avs comparable to the importance in the big moments in the game. And something else you said, Corey, about as a fan of the team, you understand the value to that team, even if the media doesn't always understand, right? And this is still, I guess he's probably considered a prospect. He's played enough games this year. He's played more than the 10 at the NHL level, but I've been calling ever since he first stepped on the ice for him to be with the team the rest of the year. He fit in super well with this system and this style. And even compared to my fellow Sharks fans, I'm sure many have seen it as well. I think we had the benefit of the fact that he played on the same line as Michael Misa for the London Knights. So when looking into all of the old footage and the highlights for Misa, guess who was always there facilitating and having his moments too? And they were drafted just a year apart. So the fact that he already has this chemistry on the top line, and if we have someone else come in, depending on how things go this year, or one of those other prospects steps up, you never know what the future holds. But you also know he could be phenomenal on the second line because the chemistry with Michael Misa has been proven as well.
Yeah, it'll certainly be exciting to see what begins to develop as this team gets older. You know, these guys start to enter their primes. And I mean, I just heard this today. Aren't you all lucky that you still have Celebrini on his ELC for one more year before the massive $12 million contract kicks in? But I mean, I think you're still going to manage to get Celebrini for a steal for the value that this kid is about to put up for the next 8 years.
He's putting up 102 points now with his assist tonight.
And he isn't even in his prime. We know he's not. He's not in his prime. This isn't even his prime. This is not the best that Macklin Celebrini can do.
He's what, 4th in the NHL in points this
Correct.
season? Yeah, he's worth 12 million.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, it's a fat contract to pay to what will be a 20-year-old when he signs the extension next year, right? But
it's going to be a discount, I promise.
It's still going to be so worth it. It's not even, it's kind of crazy how just broken he is of a cheat code, but man, he's a superstar. And we all get to watch it every night, and it just is that much more thrilling when he's out there with line mates who can play with him and have that chemistry with Will. I still think Colin Graff deserves credit, and I hope he's a restricted free agent at the end of the season. I really hope we get him signed for multiple years to come, especially for his penalty kill as well. He's a great grinder of a guy, but for a grinder of a guy, he can make Macklin better. So now when you see Chernyshov and you can have that top line and then try to have Graff help make the second line better. I look at Colin Graff, who's young in his own right, but I think he's going to help the development of Michael Misa on the second line potentially as well.
Absolutely. Good players help other players grow.
Exactly. And they're all growing together.
And that's
so
what makes the best teams.
Cool to see.
It really is. That is what will make the best team. That is why this team is going to be so fucking good in the future.
They really are. Figure out the defense this offseason, get the goaltending, just get a fresh start next year, and watch out, league. We're coming. The Sharks are circling. Okay, I got my pun out of the way. I'm not funny, guys. I'm punny. I've always said that.
I'm gonna beat you up.
I'll accept it. As just like Radko Gudas, I'll accept that I deserve to be beat up for that one. But anyways, I mentioned that the Sharks played the Blues twice, which I would have liked to have gotten 4 points out of those games, right? Especially when we're both in this playoff hunt, but they still ended up getting 3
We're not in the
out of
hunt,
4
Dom. We're in the hunt for the top. Oh, I see what you mean. You mean the Blues and you are both in the hunt. My bad. I misunderstood.
For the for the wild card
I got you.
But they did get 3 out of 4 points. So yes, they took an OT loss in the first game on the road, but they did bounce back to get the win in the tank on Monday night, the 30th. I missed the first period. It's a shame. I missed the first period. I had to watch it on like the replay after the fact and the highlights just to make sure I got my notes in order. But it seemed like after the goaltending duel of just the few days prior, right? Thursday, and then they play again on Monday. That's what, 4 days in between? If you count like the day part of Monday. Anyway, goaltending was optional. They had the goaltending duel where neither Askarov nor Hofer gave up a goal, at least while they were both in together, right? Hofer eventually conceded 1 goal after Askey was knocked out of the game. Semantics. But this game, in the first period, the Sharks scored 3 goals on 11 shots, and the Blues scored 2 goals on 4 shots. So totally different, where same 2 goaltenders, way different outcome. Also ran a fun stat from this game. There were a combined total of 7 power plays for the 2 teams in this game. Corey, do you remember how many power play goals were scored by the 2 teams combined?
I believe you said it was over 3.
Oh, the Sharks scored 3.
Oh, no.
So it was
then
a total
I don't know.
of 5.
Oh, goodness.
The Sharks went 3 for 4 on their power play against the Blues. The Blues went 2 for 3 on their power play against the Sharks. So when I say goaltending was optional, it didn't matter how many skaters were on the ice. I mean optional. What a wild game. Because in the first period, of course, the Blues score first on just their second shot of the game. And I was sulking at first watching that replay. But then it got better super quickly when Alex Wenberg scored a nice power play goal where he had a chance, followed it up with a second one off an assist from Macklin Celebrini. That's point number 99 on the season. 5 minutes later, guess who gets point number 100? I guess you don't really have to guess.
I don't have to guess.
It's Macklin Celebrini, of course, with a power play goal of his own. Off an assist from Orlov. The Blues weren't going away, though. They did tie up the game. But in the final minute of the period, Corey, guess who?
Wait, the final minute of the third period or just this period?
Final minute of the first period. Who scored for the Sharks?
Probably Macklin Celebrini. Or
it was Macklin Celebrini. Did you call him Chernyshov?
No, I got goobered when you started. Never mind. Just keep going.
I'm sorry I goobered you.
Yeah, it's all your fault,
Macklin
Dom.
Celebrini.
Not me.
It is.
You.
It's always my fault. It's always my fault. I'm the rogue Sharks fan here. I will accept all the blame. But Macklin, yes, scored again to make it 101 points in just the first period alone, off assists from Nick Leddy and Will Smith. Shout out Nick Leddy. He's had a hell of a week in these games. He's played really well in all 3 games. I paused the game so I could actually talk here effectively. So I don't know what's happening in the second period against the Ducks if he's still playing well. But I've been one of his harshest critics since the start of the season, and he wasn't playing well early on. He got sent to the CUDA for a long, long stint. But he's been back with the Sharks, and he's been playing really well. So clearly playing for a contract somewhere since he's in a contract year, or if he stays with the Sharks at a discount, hopefully. But just want to give him credit because I have been a harsh critic of Nick Leddy, and he got up into the play there and set up Macklin super well for that goal.
Well, it is not just you. Most Sharks fans have been a harsh critic of Nick Leddy.
Which is why, on behalf of all of them, I'll recognize when he does well, just to have some karmic balance in the universe. But moving along to the second period, and the opportunities continued to be sparse at 5-on-5. The second period was honestly just kind of mucked up where there was a lot of turnovers. It felt like hard to see either team retaining possession. In a lot of ways, both of these games between the Blues and the Sharks were like playoff games, but between 2 teams, neither of which really is good enough to be in the playoffs in a regular year. Like there were mistakes left and right, but they were super balanced back and forth battle type of games, if that makes sense, against a balanced opponent. And both goals that came in the second period came on the power play. So it was Alex Wenberg again, off assist, this time from Tyler Toffoli. Yes, everyone, Dad's back in the lineup, and I'm so happy about it. And Will Smith, and the fourth assist, if you will, or the next pass over was Macklin Celebrini, who helped set it up. So Corey, like you were mentioning before, how many times he doesn't even get on the stat sheet, but he was critical in setting it up. There's one of those instances. But just like the Sharks scored late in the first period for Macklin, it was the Blues. It was Philip Broberg scoring on the power play of his own late in the second. This one was just, I think the Blues were on a push in the back half of that period. They were down 4-2. They knew they had to turn it on. And it did feel like it was coming a bit. It was talked about on the broadcast. What Randy Hahn was talking with Ryan Reeves. Shout out Revo. He did a good job in the broadcast booth, in my opinion. And with
he said he wants to do that. He said he wants to broadcast.
Well, I hope he stays in San Jose to do that then, because I thought he played off of Randy well. He still obviously was feeling it out, not talking the most at points. He's not doing the play-by-play, but I still enjoyed his commentary. I enjoyed having him in the box. It was a casual, fun energy listening, and just a good guy. You know, I really hope we haven't seen the last of Ryan Reaves. I hope he's healthy enough to at least play one more game this season if he does elect to retire, because I don't want him to retire on an injury like that. But I just have to recognize I hated him because of where he played over the years, and he was a physical dude. And I'm just grateful he had this 1 year with the Sharks, even if it is just this one, because he's a real stand-up guy. He's been a huge locker room presence. He started the tradition with the shark tooth necklace, right? That was this season. That is something that no matter what, I hope lives on as a tradition in that locker room where he has made his mark even in this short time. So even if he doesn't stay in San Jose's broadcast booth, I can still hope. It was really cool listening to him talk and just having a moment to appreciate Ryan Reaves, both as a player and as a person, even though he wasn't on the ice.
I mean, definitely the kind of guy who can bring a lot of insight into the game. And I mean, that's why Eric Johnson's been so fun to listen to as he's gotten into commentating here as well. So guys like that, I understand why old hockey players tend to make the best commentators. I mean, they understand that game from a deeper level, from a different perspective than most other guys do. So always love that. Plus, Revo's funny as shit.
Yes. Randy Hahn is goated for his energy, and Revo is just super funny, super casual with it. It's such a unique balance goes on there because of the intensity, but still the excitement and energy Randy Hahn brings. It's just an iconic voice. None better for me from my biased Sharks fan perspective.
Oh, yeah. And I wanted to say it was funny that you mentioned, like, I didn't like him before because of where he came from. But of course, now I like him because he's on my team. My mom was the exact same way with Brent Burns. She did not like Brent Burns because of the way he played, where he was at, but she likes him now because he's on our team. So very similar situation.
Yeah. And, it can go both ways, too, because I remember the time when Ryan Reaves was on Vegas. And we had Evander Kane, and the two of them would come to blows. And now here
Didn't
I am
he beat Evander Kane's ass?
Guts. Yes, and at the time I was upset about it. Now I couldn't be more thrilled about it when I look back on it.
He's like, now it's just funny.
Well, it's funny and fuck Evander Kane. But anyway, I just wanted to appreciate Ryan Reaves there. He's a stand-up guy, a true veteran of the game, and I hope even if it's not with us, that he does get that shot to be in the booth somewhere. Maybe if it's even with Winnipeg, something like that back in his hometown, it would just be cool to get to hear him talk more hockey because he's good at it. He knows the game, like you said, Corey. And he was in there for most of the second period talking about these things. He was talking about how the momentum felt like it was shifting towards the Blues. And he was right. And eventually their forecheck got to a young defenseman in Shakir Mukmadulin. He sends the puck over glass, and just, seconds later, right? It wasn't a full minute. I think it was more like 40 seconds after that power play started. I don't have the exact number up in front of me. I think it was actually 30. Broberg did score. That was with 20 seconds left in the period, or 26 seconds. So, a lot of late in period goals in these games between the Sharks and the Blues. Macklin scores with less than a minute left. Then Broberg scores with less than 30 seconds left. You think back to the prior game when they scored with 3 seconds left in overtime. And then in the third period, the Blues did tie it up on another power play. I'm not kidding. So many goals on the power play in this game. So the Sharks went from being up 4-2 to in a tie game 4-4. But we have the hockey god, Adam Gaudette. The Sharks win a defensive zone faceoff, get the breakout. Desharnais to Mario Ferraro, gets it up to Gaudette, who goes in on a 2-on-1, but takes it alone, puts the puck in. It trickles through Hofer. Oh, save he definitely should have had. And that's another goal with less than a minute remaining, this time in the game, 22 seconds left. A game that looks like it's about to go to overtime. Adam Gaudette calls game right there, says, no, thank you. Sure, there were 22 seconds left, but you know what I mean. What a moment. The energy in that building. I'm so jealous and envious of everyone who was in the tank that night because it was raucous afterwards.
Oh, yeah. And I did see that goal. It's just one of those fluky, kind of leaky goals that I agree. It's like, oh, Probably should have saved that, especially because Hofer has been very, very good lately. So that was a bit of a surprise to see sneak through, but this is the way it goes.
Indeed, and that's again where the goaltending definitely felt optional in this game. Both goalies were letting through goals they shouldn't. Askarov did. I mean, he gave up 4 goals on 26 shots. I think it was. It wasn't a stellar performance by any means. But yeah, they got 3 out of 4 points against the Blues. Would have liked to see more. The big one was that win in between over Columbus, who is in playoff position in the East and has been on a tear. So Sharks aren't done yet. They got, not counting tonight's game against Anaheim, they got 9 games left to play. So that's the most.
How's that going, by the way?
Entire league. It looks like Anaheim scored in the second period, and yeah, it was Alex Killorn who scored him, put him up 2-1. They're out shooting the Sharks 20-13. Sharks special teams are still doing well, though. They're 1 for 2 on the power play, and they held the Ducks 0 for 3 in the first period on their penalty kills. So, and their shot opportunities, they're getting the Ducks have 11 block shots right now. So it's not like the Sharks aren't having their chances. The Ducks are just selling out to keep it from reaching Dostal.
All right, fair enough.
But with that, after a strong week of play in the tank, as we look ahead here in April, I don't know if you saw on social media, Corey, but did you hear that the Sharks are being punished and having to surrender a first-round pick in one of the next 3 years for tampering with the Kiefer Sherwood trade?
I'm sorry to ruin this for you. I also saw that post and dug too deep into it, so I already know the answer.
Oh, April Fools.
I'm sorry. I was like debating. I was like, do I let him get me? But I was like, no, I can't. I'm sorry. It did get me earlier, though. I was like, what the fuck? No way. And so I'm like looking into it. And then I was like, wait a minute. I actually got by multiple things today. So I'm pretty embarrassed about that fact. So I'm sorry, Dom. I've already been embarrassed privately. I couldn't let you get me on recording.
Hey, honesty is the best policy. You don't have to act for my benefit. And it got me at first. I was like, what the fuck? No. And then I looked in the comments and I'm like, right. Today is April 1st, isn't it? Fuck. But it was funny. So I brought it here for everyone who didn't know. Well, now you know. You wouldn't even be hearing this on April 1st anyway, so it wouldn't have landed as a joke. So I don't even know why I brought it up.
I think it would have been better. I think people would have taken it more seriously hearing it tomorrow. They would have been like, oh my God, no way.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's no longer April Fool's. But we are genuinely, honestly recording this on April Fool's Day.
And that is not a fool's joke right there for you. Otherwise, the episode would already be out.
Exactly.
But I think it's time for the 3 Sharks of the week, Corey. And I already mentioned it, but I'm giving honorable mentions to Nick Leddy, of course, who had a great week and has been underrated. Not underrated. He's been accurately rated earlier in the season, but maybe underrated for his performance this week. He was recognized by Coach Warsofsky, though, and the guys in the locker room appreciated it. So that, at the end of the day, is telling in its own way. As well as Igor Chornyshov, of course, because he didn't have phenomenal games against the Blues. He didn't get on the scorecard, but he did have those 2 goals in a phenomenal performance against Columbus. Very clutch, very quality goals he scored there. The future is bright. But with that, your number 3 Shark of the week, it's going to be Will Smith with 4 assists in the past 2 games, just being an Apple machine, setting up Macklin to break records. Number 2, Alex Wenberg, at least a point in all 3 games this week, 3 goals and 2 assists in total, including his first 3-point game with the Sharks, in which he scored 2 goals and 1 assist. He's done it previously, where he scored 1 goal with 2 assists, but first time in Teal that he got 2 goals, 1 assist. So that was an awesome game for Wenny against the Blues. And of course, number 1, he could be number one almost every week. But even by Macklin Celebrini standards, we have to put him at the number one Shark of the Week this week. Now at 102 points on the season, counting tonight's assist against the Ducks. What more can be said? He's a superstar and now in sole possession of second place on the all-time season scoring list for the San Jose Sharks franchise.
Yeah, I mean, how could it not be? So much to appreciate with that kid. Well, with that in mind, your 3 Avalanche are of the week, which this is actually kind of a hard decision to make. Number 3 is the entire fucking roster, because when the Avalanche scored 9 goals against Calgary, 9 players had multi-point games that night. How could you not? Number 2, Scott Wedgwood. Number 1, I'll give it to Nathan MacKinnon for hitting the 50-goal mark again this season, hopefully getting his first Rocket Richard trophy, which is fun because he didn't have to compete with some of the other big goal scorers this year. Although if I had to make a bet going forward, I think Cole Caulfield is going to win multiple of those. So I hope Nathan MacKinnon can hold on, get it this year, and then Cole, you are free to get it every other year.
Yeah, I think Cole Caulfield is, man, he just
Cole
scores
Caulfield
on Saturdays.
His name is Cole Caulfield for a reason. I mean, they got a guy named Cole Caulfield. Fuck, Keith Pelly was like, we didn't see the train of Montreal and Buffalo coming. And it's like, brother, are you stupid? Nobody could have seen Buffalo. That's fair. But everybody saw Montreal coming. And as one commenter so astutely pointed out, they have a guy named Cole Caulfield. What are you talking about?
They're in a similar place to the Sharks with a lot of young talent. They just need more stable goaltending, and then they're going to be scaring the shit out of everybody who has to play them.
Exactly. Now then, everybody, your fun fact this week is brought to you by Dom from the Tank, which he told me a little bit of a preview that he has a fun fighting fact prepared for us today, but I don't quite know what it is, so I'm excited to hear it. Dom, what do you got for us?
Well, everybody knows that I like my hockey fights more than actual fights even when it comes to sport. And the hockey code is something I think we all love and respect. Also, I just want to mention, I know we mentioned the hockey code earlier, but just as a quick thing here, if you want to know more about the hockey code and hear us do a whole segment on that, let us know in the comments, because I think we could put together a whole thing and do some research into digging in some of the more minute details of the code. So I'm just realizing now, here we are at the end of the episode, that maybe not everyone understands or knows the full hockey code. So let us know if you want to know more. But with that in mind, part of the hockey code is answering the bell when one of your teammates gets hit particularly hard. I mean, these days it's a lot more frequent we see it, but if there's a dirty hit, you need to go get your revenge, get your pound of flesh for the guy who dished out that initial hit and hurt your teammate. And one of the multiple fights, I guess, against Anaheim, including the one against Ratko Gudas, where he basically just turtled and absorbed his medicine, was against Max Domi. Now, Corey, I mentioned Max Domi because A, he was just wailing on him, throwing right hands like they were just flying off of his body. But B, do you know about the TIE Fighter?
Man?
The Muffin Man!
Muffin Man!
But the Muffin Man! The TIE Fighter, Corey. And no, not the one from Star Wars, but do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh, yes. Ty Domi. Max Domi's dad.
Yup. This is a Kachuk situation here where we have like father, like son with some physicality and just mucking it up in the game, because Ty Domi leads the league all time and is frankly never going to be caught with the record for career fights. Depending on what was considered and tracked as a fight and which site you see, this will be anywhere in the range between 333 and 339 career fights. So that is a fun fact in its own right. Max Domi does fight as much as anybody in this day and age, but we just see less fights than they did back in the day. But
I was going to say something about rules. Wait. Can I say something real quick? Ty Domi got into so many fights, he beat a bystander's ass. That's how many fights Ty Domi was in. There was a dude who once invaded the fucking bench and Domi beat his ass. So that's why the walls are much higher, by the way.
Yeah. A lot of rules have changed from fighting. I was going to mention, but that was not the way I was going. So thank you for mentioning that one, Corey, because the walls have gone much higher, and it's not just to protect from pucks over glass. That's why they have the netting. But no, it's to protect the players from unruly fans. Crazy people. But part of the evolution of the rules, did you know that a player who receives either 2 instigator penalties for fighting or participates in receiving 3 fighting majors in general must be automatically ejected if those happen in a single game?
I did not know that, Dom.
Well, that, folks, is your fun fact for the week. I didn't realize this until hearing it, I think, on a broadcast and looking it up to confirm, but it is true. If a player is responsible for instigating 2 penalties, so they get the additional 2 minutes, it is supposed to be an automatic ejection, or if they fight in 3 fights in total. This is similar to the third man in type of rule, where if you're the third guy, you automatically get ejected. But it's more so if you're just that much of a rat out there and you've been in 3 fights, you've gotten your pound of flesh and you need to get the hell out of there. Go take a shower.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it's rare nowadays that you'll even see 1 fight, let alone 3 from the same guy in the same game, unless we're like watching a Florida Panthers Tampa Bay Lightning game.
True, but that's why I came up with it with the Domi combination, because Max Domi fought in 2 fights in that game against Anaheim, so he was one fight away from an automatic ejection.
Is what you're saying. He was riding the line.
Exactly. It all comes together. It all connects for how my cross-wired brain put together this week's fun fact.
That's kind of how my brain works as well. Dom, you do know that fighting was my sport, right? That's one of the sports that I did.
Yeah, you did some multiple forms of mixed martial arts, did you not?
I did do that.
Because I know you did jiu-jitsu. We've talked about the jiu-jitsu part before.
Yeah, I did jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, and Muay Thai.
Muay Thai was the one I was forgetting. Yeah. Yeah, he's a big man. Our captain Avalanche would kick my ass on his own without the added skill set, but I would not stand a chance. Good thing that we're friends and I have zero intention of ever fighting you.
Okay, Parker Kelly has gotten his 19th goal on the season. 1 more, and we're at fucking 20. He can do it.
Woo!
6-4, Canucks Avalanche. I hate it here.
Hey, wait. I thought it was like 6-3 or 6-2 or something, so that's progress.
I know, but we have to try and make it up over the end of this period. So I may go and suffer through the end of that. What the rest of you choose to do with your evening is up to you. Hopefully it was a better ending than what we're experiencing right now, but the clock is counting down to the final horn. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this episode of the Captain Avalanche Fancast. If you have something you want to know about the Avalanche, Sharks, or just hockey in general, reach out to us on our socials or email, and we'll be happy to try and answer it. The best thing you can do if you like what we're doing here is to follow us on whatever platform you're using and to share this podcast everywhere you can with everyone you can. I'm Captain Avalanche Corey.
And I'm Dom from the Tank.
Check out our new episodes every week. Thanks, everyone.